What is up, everyone? Renfail here, and we're back again with more Rogue Trader fun. And today I'm diving into the 5 essential tips that you should know as a new player before you go in for the first time. Regardless if you're playing on the console or the PC, these are just general tips to help you get the most out of your first playthrough. Now, I'm the first to admit I was new to Warhammer when I started playing this game in the beta a few months before it launched. I've learned a ton of information, and one of the things about Rogue Trader is that it is a super complex game with a ton of mechanics that if you don't know Warhammer, like I didn't know Warhammer coming into the game for the first time, there could be a little bit of confusion in things and you'll get like 20, 30 hours into the game and be like light bulbs going off going, oh, that's what that's supposed to do, or that's how that's supposed to be played. So hopefully I can help eliminate some of that learning curve in this video. So we're going to get going here. Before we do, though, if you haven't already done so and you're new to the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Daily streams happen at 8 a.m. Central Time here and on Twitch. The day-to-day is on YouTube, of course, with all the game guides, movie reviews, TV shows, and beyond. Check out the playlists. Lots of stuff happens here. We play a lot of games. Don't forget the Discord. Let's get into the game. The first tip for new players is pay attention to the homeworld and the origin for your character if you are creating something from scratch. The homeworld is pretty straightforward. Just all these different home planets have different pros and cons. So you'll very quickly notice that right away you have characteristic modifiers that give you pluses or minuses. You also get features that are distinct for each one, like the Death World gets Survival Instinct, Voidborn gets Fortune, Hive World gets Strength and Numbers. These are things that are unique to the characters from those planets. But if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to notice these ones here where it says the following features will be available after Origin Advancement, which means after you get into the game and you start leveling up your character for the first time, you'll be able to start leveling up these things. They'll become available as you level up. So things like, example, with the Death World, you get Brutal Hunter, Trusty Weapons, Wounded Beast, Lifetime of Scars, and Tenacity. If you look at, say, the Imperial World, those are completely different. So there is a lot of information to unpack here. Take your time. There's a lot of stuff to go through between the 6 different homeworlds that you can choose from. But then you get into the origins. And this is where things are a little more complex even than the origins stories for your character. So the homeworlds. The origins are like, I would consider these kind of like the base class of your character. This is the background, but it's way more complex than what you would see like a background in Pathfinder or Dungeons & Dragons. So the Astra Militarum Commander, as an example, gets regimental tactics, and then they get characteristic modifiers, skill modifiers, additional modifiers that you can take as you level up, and then there's talents. Where this is the most noticeable is going to be something like the Sanctioned Psyker. So the Sanctioned Psyker is essentially the magic user of Warhammer 40K, right? But the funny thing about this is that if you pick Sanctioned Psyker as an origin, as a background, it's independent of your actual class choice, which is your archetype. Which means that you could be a fighter or a warrior who has a Psyker background, which means you're able to do spells while also being a fighter. So it's a little complex. It's kind of like, you could call it a background, you could call it your main kind of class idea before you get into the archetypes, but you need to pay attention to the homeworld and the origins because these will definitely impact how you play your class, your actual archetype character, which, we can get into those later, and we've done different guides on those. You've got your warrior, officer, operative, soldier, and then here your assassin, vanguard, bounty hunter, master, tactician, grand strategist, and arch militant. Your choices at the very beginning of the game with your homeworld and your origin absolutely impact things as you level up your characters, so make sure to pay attention to those two out of the gate. So after you've finished a combat encounter, you're going to want to loot. But also, if you've been exploring an area, there might be things you want to loot in the environment. So one of the ways you can do that is by highlighting everything that's in your area, by clicking the appropriate highlight button, depending on if you're on the controller or the mouse and keyboard. It'll do things like this where it highlights everybody and anything that's in your area, like it shows those corpses, but I've already looted those corpses. But if you aren't sure if you have found something in the area, if you have ever wandered around the map at any point in time, anything that's come in your line of sight is going to be visible on the map as a lootable container. So if you open up the map, you can look for things like this right here. It'll say loot. Now all you got to do is just right click on it if you are on the mouse and keyboard. If you're on a controller, you can get into the what's the word I'm looking for? The highlight mode, where you move your cursor mode. That's what I'm looking for, and just right click on this with the cursor, and it'll automatically move your characters up in that direction. You're going to notice that more of the map becomes discoverable, and we just noticed another one that popped up, and you can do it again like so, and you can keep exploring if you want to. And what this allows you to do is then go into the general vicinity of the items that are showing up on the map. Then you can close your map down, go up to wherever your characters are. In this case, we can go up in here, and now you can hold down the control, and you'll notice that there's goods over here that could be looted. And we could say collect all, and we can go from there. Now, there are also things up in here that we could go to, but that's also going to get us into an area with an object that we need to disarm. So this moves us into the next tip for those of you who are new, is that when you come across things like traps, the game is going to auto pause. Now, this is a good thing because it helps you from avoiding accidentally stepping into things because of the pathing. Now, this is where things can get a little complex. We're going to go ahead and unpause this right now. We're going to run up. It's going to pause again because it detected another trap, and it's going to move these characters up in here. Now, this is where some traps are going to be things that you just directly disable that are like mines. Other things are going to be traps that have a clickable switch that is somewhere distant. It's somewhere other than right here on the trap, and it'll see a little line a line showing you where that is, where that trigger is. What you need to do in this case is you need to separate out one of your characters to go disarm that trap. Now, when you hover over this, it's going to tell you what type of trap it is. In this case, these are lore traps by Xenos. Some of these might be demolition traps. Some of them might be other types of traps. And now, if you do it automatically, if it's something where you don't have to worry about line of pathing, and you can just run up to it and click it, when you have your entire group selected and you click the object, the person with the highest relevant skill is going to be the one that gets sent forward to disarm that, like so. So I clicked and Jay has the highest, therefore she's running up and disarming those traps because she's the one that has the highest level skill that could get me past that. But if that's not the case, and it's something complex where you wanted to navigate around, what you'll want to do is figure out who it is that has the highest skill, take that person, individually select them. With the mouse and keyboard, just click them and go. If you're on the console, you'll need to unlink that character from the rest of the group, send them up, and then they will be able to run around accordingly, look for other traps, and disarm them on an as-needed basis. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. Alright, the last item on our list in this video is going to be Veil Degradation and why it's so important to pay attention to in combat scenarios. Now, they give a pretty decent explanation here of how this works. At the beginning of combat, Veil Degradation usually starts at 0. Each minor psychic power increases the degradation by 1, and major powers increase it by 3, and then it decreases once every round. Once it reaches a certain point, the threshold being 15, weird things start happening. You can get bleed effects coming in. You'll start hearing weird echoes. You'll see ghosts wandering around the battlefield. Demons can come through from the warp, and that can really throw a wrench into the gears in terms of the complexity of combat scenarios, especially if it's on a boss fight. Now, as it says here, at the beginning of most encounters, it's already at 0, and it goes up to 20. And certain encounters, a handful of them that are boss encounters, the Veil Degradation might already start at 15 because it's warp creatures that you're fighting. But the essence here is that part of combat is balancing Veil Degradation against everything else that's going on in the field with your action points and your movement points and taking down enemies and everything else. So the big thing here is that any sort of psychic powers that are used are going to make the Veil go up. Certain abilities from certain characters can bring the Veil Degradation down. As an example, Cassia as a navigator has an ability that brings it down. I believe Jay has an ability that brings it down a little bit. And those abilities are kind of rare, though. So one of the things you have to pay attention to is is the psychic powers you're wanting to use, are those powers worth the risk of the veil? Now, in the lower tiers, from like 0 to 15, it's not that big of a deal, but once you hit 15 or above, it can start to be kind of scary. So this bar is what represents, it's at 0 right now, and you'll see the 0 represented by the number up here. Now, if I were to cast something like Psychic Shriek, it's going to cost a couple of action points, and it's going to cause 1 Veil Degradation. But then something like Lightning Arc, let's just use it and see what happens. So in this case, you notice that my Veil Degradation is at 0 right now. We're going to cast this ability. Now that jumped me up to 3 because it's a major psychic ability. Now I can't use Psychic Shriek anymore because I've already burned up my psychic ability there, so we're down to that. But then if I were to do, say, Foreboding, as an example, you know, that increased it by another 3, so suddenly we are up to 6. And if I did this as well, now we're up to 7 because it increased it by 1. So all these different abilities that she has as a Psyker are going to increase the Veil Degradation. So you'll notice now that the Veil Degradation is higher. Over here on the right hand side, there's some glowy purple effects over here. The higher that degradation gets, you'll start to see like the ghost floating around. You'll hear like distortions in the audio. Characters will have like an echo to their voices. It sounds like they're coming from a distance. It's very cool the way degradation works, but you absolutely have to pay attention to degradation in combat, because if it gets too high, I've been on boss fights where we get too much veil degradation happening, and we get demons on the field, and it just turns a really difficult fight into an impossible fight. So you need to balance your veil degradation in combat as well as everything else. So there you have it, everyone. Those are 5 quick tips, 5 essential tips for new players who are coming into Rogue Trader for the first time. Things that I found to be particularly useful. I remember when I first figured out that Cassia had the Mend Reality ability, which could drop the Veil Degradation. I was like, oh my god, I'm saved, because like so many fights I was getting into where I was accidentally just, you know, causing demons to spawn in the field because I wasn't really paying attention to the Veil Degradation as one of those. And there's a lot of stuff that you could get into, but this is the quick essentials to help you get going as a new player, so hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Check out all the other Rogue Trader guides and videos in the playlist. Daily streams happen at 8 a.m. Central Time here and on Twitch. Check out all the other videos and the games that we play in the playlist. Join the Discord, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Until then, stay safe. Happy gaming.